So here we have our week 2. You're in it to win it. Here's what we got for you tonight. So I'm proud of everybody. It's a challenge. I know some of you are already at week 3. That's great. But I want you to let us remain calm and carry it on. So last night I did egg roll in a bowl. Super easy. These are the ingredients I used. I use hoisin sauce. It does have a little sugar in it, but I used a little bit just for the flavor. After day 10, you can add your ground turkey or whatever, ground chicken, ground beef, ground pork, venison, whatever you'd like. Super easy to make, literally 15 minutes. And, stir it up, heat it up, saute it, flip the sauces around in there and serve it right up. I put a little sesame seed in it and some green onion chopped on top of it, a little salt and pepper, and you're good to go. So that was super easy to make. We made a cheeseless pizza on Sunday night. Sunday nights are always our pizza night, but during the purification and detox, we don't do cheese and we don't do the crust. So I made it out of quinoa and flaxseed. That much quinoa, just quinoa that's not cooked. And I kind of came up with this recipe myself because all the recipes I looked at for quinoa would say you have to have cooked. And I didn't want to cook it and then you have to squeeze it and dry it. It's just ridiculous. So I just took the quinoa and blended it with the NutriBullet with the milling blade. And then I had added the flaxseed, some onion salt, some onion powder, garlic salt. I put some sesame seed, chia seed, flaxseed, and sesame seed in it, and a little red pepper flake because I like that, a little salt and pepper. And then I blended it with the NutriBullet, and that milling blade will blend it without making it into butter. The other blade would just make it almost like into a butter. And then I just put it in a big pan. I put an egg in there. I put some olive oil, and then I add water to make it kind of come together. I take a pastry blade and just mix it up, make a ball, put it on there, roll it out, and then I bake it for about 15 minutes on 400. I bring it out. We have an organic pizza sauce. These are jalapenos black olives with jalapenos, and I put mushrooms, and there's some tomatoes on there. I had spinach, but I forgot to put it on. And you could put some nutritional yeast on it, and that'll give you a kind of a cheesy flavor and plus a good load of B vitamins. I did put some in the crust also, but you can actually pick it up. So it kind of gives you that, and more like a flatbread almost, but it was still good. I enjoyed that. So day 8, which will start for some of you tomorrow and some of you on Wednesday or Thursday. So if you're already the second week, you're already here. So days 8 through 14, the diet stays the same. And day 11, you can start adding protein in. So remember, still my saying, unlimited fresh vegetables. If you're going to eat fruit and you're trying to manage weight, you want to stick with your berries. That's super important. And remember, my rule is twice as many veggies as fruit. So you can have the fruits in there. I would limit them to the shakes. And personally, I kind of got on a strawberry kick. So I just kind of like the vanilla. I made that for the first night for the group, and I'm kind of stuck on that right now. I do that and I'll get tired of it. But be mindful that some of these fruits like bananas and mangoes and things like that are a little bit higher in sugar. So you're welcome to have them, but just limit them. And especially if you're trying to manage your weight. So if you're trying to lose a little bit of weight, then you need to stay away from them, stick with the berries. They're a little bit lower in the glycemic index, which means a little bit lower in sugar. You can have lentils, you can have quinoa, you can 2 half-cup cooked servings per day. But once again, I'm sorry for the quinoa, it's a 1 half-cup cooked, or you can have 2 half cups of the lentils. But once again, if you're on a weight management program, I would be mindful of that. I would stay away from, doing some of the heavier carb things, unless you feel like you really need it. Use your good oils. Remember, the oils keep you satiated. That's what keeps you from getting hungry. So your coconut oil, your extra virgin olive oil, flaxseed oil, your grapeseed oil. I wouldn't necessarily say fish oil. You can take it by mouth, but you don't have to put fish oil in your food. Although we have fish sauce we use in some of our Asian dishes. Same difference. So spring water and mineral water, you can have green tea and herbal tea. If you want coffee, you can have Swiss water decaf. Remember, it's a special preparation so that it takes out the caffeine naturally. Otherwise, it's taken out with chlorine, and then you get the chlorine effect in the decaf coffee. Marianne got us some for the house, and it's quite tasty. So it kind of gets you through that. So remember, half your body weight in water is kind of the general rule. I mean, remember, you're getting water in your veggies and your shakes, so you don't have to stick to the, exactly that many ounces per day. And for me, it's a little bit harder to drink not harder to drink, but I'm not as thirsty when it's cooler out. So day 11, give me some protein. So you can start adding protein back in. Remember, I want the fish to be wild caught. I want the eggs and the chicken to be organic and free range, antibiotic, hormone free if possible. Same thing with if you want to have beef, I'm okay with that. If it's grass fed, grass finished. Same thing with pork. If you want to have any game, that's great. But if you're going to a hunting camp, you know what they feed the deer? They feed them corn. So you might be mindful of that as well. But I don't want you to use any cured, smoked, or luncheon meats because they're very high in sodium nitrates. We'll talk about that next week. And then you're going to say, what? I don't have to do only 19 capsules? It's going to feel like you've just turned the corner. So on day 8, you'll have 3. If you did it right, you'll have 3 SP cleanse left over. Just throw them in day 8. You're fine. So your supplement regimen changes. Shakes stay the same, 2 to 3 per day, but your vitamin regimen changes. So you'll have 5 green food twice a day. And then you have 3 gastrofiber, three capsules 3 times a day. So that's 9. For me, I would forget those middle 3. So what I do is I do 5 green food in the morning, 5 green food at night, 5 gastrofiber in the morning, and 4 gastrofiber at night. Honestly, I just do 5 and 5, 5 and 5, because that one extra gastrofiber is not going to hurt. I like simple. And then I just set them up, and then I take them in the morning, take them in the evening. So it's just super, super easy, but it'll feel like you're not taking anything compared to this last week. But remember, it's really super important that first week, because the SP cleanse, really, really important to really flush that liver. So now that we're flushing the liver, and that continues, and as that liver continues kind of flushing, then we need to start supporting it and healing it. And that's where the green food comes in. Green food is a lot of your cruciferous vegetables. They're very high in sulforaphane, and they're your broccoli and your Brussels sprouts and your kale, all those deep green, crunchy vegetables. So they're super great for the phytonutrients in them for kind of healing the liver. All right, so this is only one of our 2 that we have. We kind of narrowed it down. Actually, I think it's 3 levels on there. So, you just kind of spin it around and get what you need. So, I practice what I preach, and I think that's important that you know that. I just don't tell you to do it, and I'm not going to do it. If it's not good enough for me, if it's good enough for you, then it should be good enough for me. So I want you to know that I do just what you do. We just started a week early. Last week we talked about exercise. So technically, you should have an hour and a half of cardiovascular exercise a week. That's 30 minutes a day. Here, at least 4 times per week is 30 minutes, but we do something every day. And remember, you have to do both strength training and cardiovascular. So your cardiovascular, we talked about last week, and I said it improperly, but your cardiovascular is like paying off your credit card. You have to do it every month. Your strength training is like paying off your mortgage. Once you pay it off, then you have maintenance, and that's all you have to do. So you really require more cardio. Get a Fitbit, get whatever you do. I talked about the Aura Ring last week, and it's a little sensor, so it measures all my activity. But if you're going to exercise, so if you have a piece of paper handy, write this down. So when you're trying to determine what your heart rate should be when you exercise, this is an important factor to know. So we're going to let you set your own up. When you're born, your maximum heart rate is 220. As we get older, we give you a little break as your age. So if you take 220 and subtract your age, that gives you your maximum heart rate for your age. So that's kind of like your speed limit. Doesn't mean you can't go there. It's like when you're on the interstate, you can go faster, but when you see a cop, you better slow it down. So, if you're speeding on the highway, then you know that at some point you're going to get caught. So you kind of go there and look around and then come back down. Same thing with your body. So you have your new maximum heart rate. So that's 220 minus your age. Now multiply that by 80%. If you're already a fit person, multiply by 85%. And then that will give you your target heart rate. So your target heart rate, and if you have a Fitbit, you should be able to see that when you're exercising. So that means a 5-minute warm-up, 30 minutes in that target heart rate zone, and then a 5-minute cool down. Those 5-minute warm up and cool down do not count as part of the 30 minutes. If you're just starting out, it does. But as you get more conditioned, then you have to work harder. And remember this, we talked about the heart being a muscle, and you can't hand it a dumbbell. So the only way we can exercise it is by stressing it. And when we stress it by exercising and keeping that heart rate, as your heart gets in better and better condition, you have to work harder to get that heart rate up. So remember, we want that heart muscle to be so strong that when it beats and it pumps the blood through your body. If your normal resting heart rate is 72, that's 72 beats per minute, per hour, per day, per week, per year. So if my resting heart rate is 49, that means your ticker is going to wear out before mine. So we want to make sure we get our heart rate down, and this is the way we do that. Now, I would encourage you to do some intermittent, high intensity. So like when I train on my bike, I take my heart rate way up for 30, 45 seconds, and then I bring it down for a minute or two, recover, and do that multiple times. So if you're outside walking or on a treadmill or whatever exercise you're doing, go out. Don't be afraid to get a little winded. Get your heart rate so you have to breathe hard, and then recover, and do that 5 or 6 times during your workout. That will actually, if you do that 5 to 10 times during a workout, you don't have to do it every workout, but that will peel the weight off of you. So because otherwise our body gets used to doing the same thing all the time. So I call it the Besuden confusion principle. You want to just break it up and mess it up and not let anybody, let your body get used to anything. So that's the way we do that. So let's talk about blood sugar tonight, because I think this is, kind of it's the hardest part of losing weight, because we're so sugar addicted. And, for me, it's, I see what happens when, people, eat too much sugar. And you look at go to Disney World, go to any of the theme parks, go to the mall, go to any store, and just watch people walking around, and you can see the capacity of what people weight they're carrying. And you can see what they're eating too. So when we talk about sugar, 1 teaspoon of sugar equals 16 calories. So there's 4 grams of sugar in each teaspoon. So if you're not when the Winter Park office, we had this there, but we still have it in the Eustis office. And it's kind of mind blowing to see how much sugar is in one of those drinks. And so basically you're, having 19 grams of sugar. 19 teaspoons of sugar in some of those drinks. That's a lot of sugar. So sugar is also very important. There are 61 names for sugar. Now, I do have this, I think that we can send it to you as a PDF. I'll go ahead and send that out in the morning as well. But this is 61 names for sugar. And this is where we get kind of bamboozled when we look at labels, because the food processing, the companies that make these foods, they know what they're doing. They're actually, putting these names in there. And so you'll see things like dextrose, and then maltodextrose, and then they'll say cane sugar, and they'll say maltose, and they'll give you all these names of sugar. And you think there's no sugar in it because you don't see the word sugar. And they may have 5 different sugars in that one food item. So I want you to make sure you look and read your labels, and this will be a good guide for you. So in our cycling group, so I talk to everybody, I get myself in trouble. Pretty soon they don't listen to me, but all of my cyclists will have these bananas in their back pocket, and they have the bellies in the front, so they really don't need those bananas. And it's pure sugar. So a banana, a small banana, not even most people get the bigger one, is only 105 calories. That's 5 teaspoons of sugar in a banana. So patients tell me, my nutrition patients tell me, I don't eat sugar. But then I look at their food logs, and I go through and show them where all the sugar is. This banana may not be 5 teaspoons of sugar, but it converts as 5 teaspoons of sugar. Look at orange juice. When I was young, my grandmother had a pitcher for orange juice, and the glasses were like that big. Now they're like, Mac Daddy glasses, and we're giving these to kids in the morning because it's healthy. They get their vitamin C. Well, you get vitamin C from broccoli, so you don't have to have the orange juice. And drinking that much, that's not the giant one, but that's about 8 ounces. That's 103 calories, and that's another 5 teaspoons of sugar in there. So you can see how sugar gets in their diet. And the average person, they'll start their day with orange juice because they're trying to do the right thing. Yogurt with some kind of granola on top, maybe a slice of toast. And so they've just created a whole sugar fest in their body, and their body then gets really, really, really addicted to that. And that makes it so easy for that to happen. So when we look at the sugar, we look at refined carbohydrates. So this is in Michigan, Battle Creek, Michigan. It's the breakfast capital of the world. We live in Tavares. It's the bass fishing capital of the world. Mount Dora is the festival capital of the world. Well, they do this in June. One of my patients, a couple of my patients in the office yesterday actually have gone to this. And they have this all the way down the street. It's almost a mile long. And they have just cereal bowls out with milk because that's what they make. So, you know, it's a big thing. And this is why. So this guy here, this is Dr. John Harvey Kellogg. And he was a Seventh-day Adventist. And he was one that really created this first modern day pre-cooked cereal, ready to eat cereal. And, you know, Americans nowadays spend $10 billion on cereal annually. $10 billion. That's a lot of cereal. And it's the 8th most popular grocery store item. And that's after soda, milk, bread, salty snacks, beer, wine, and cheese. And then, so you say, does the local Publix really have 215 different kinds of boxes of cereal? Yes, they do, because I personally counted them. So that's regular and what they consider natural. You want to be careful of that word. So in the early 1900s, we ate grains, and that was good. They were cooked grains. We had oats and grits and kasha and congee and hamlin. Those are all porridges and things like that. But they were, you know, you had to cook them for hours to make them, you know, palatable. So when John Harvey Kellogg came along, he was like a very, very stout Seventh-day Adventist and a vegetarian. So he ran what they called a sanitarium in Battle Creek. It was kind of a hospital, spa, country club, a religious revival camp, so to speak. So he, you know, would bring these people in, you know, and he was a big, you know, he loved it, you know, think the medicinal effects of sunlight and exercise were like top of the list. But he believed also that eating meat would, especially for breakfast, cause an epidemic of upset stomach. So he started serving like oatmeal and whole wheat porridges. So he wanted something new and exciting. So it could be sent by mail and didn't require any cooking. So he founded the Santitas food company, and he employed his brother Wilkie to help make this cereal. Well, John Henry is on vacation, and brother Will secretly added some sugar to the recipe. And when John Henry came back, he's like, John Harvey, sorry, came back, he said, oh my gosh, you know, you've got to get this sinful ingredient out of my product here. But the customers loved it. They're like, this is so good. So they kept it in there. So Will won, Dr. Kellogg lost. So in 1905, everything changed. So the initial ingredients were really from whole grains, a little bit of sugar and some other ingredients. Well, they packed a lot of fiber in there, or naturally occurring B and C vitamins, but they wouldn't stay fresh for very long. And so they were mailing these. So people would come to the sanitarium and want to continue when they went home. So they're like, well, can you mail us the cereal? So that's where they started making it, and they would warehouse it in the central production. They would make the cereal, but it would only survive a couple months, and they would go rancid because of the oil. The wheat germ and the corn germ has oil, and it would become rancid. So in 1905, cornflakes, they changed the recipe, taking out the corn, the germ part, and then they made it just like a starchy center of the corn. So they completely ruined it. So then they figured out how to, you know, heat it, and then that deactivated all the vitamins. And so they actually made a machine, and they use a machine to this day that's called an extrusion machine, and it does exactly what it does. It's the most harshest and most nutritionally devastating way to prepare something. And the process is called plasticization. So I think right there, that's like, wow, that's something else here. So, you know, they lose all the nutrients in here. And then the steam cooking is at like 524 and up degrees. So that just ruins everything. So it virtually makes it not immune to any decomposition. So if you take like Fruit Loops and put it in your compost pile, it'll be Fruit Loops forever, just because they've taken all the nutrients out. So it's literally just gray pellets and cereal bits. So now they have a longer shelf life, but there's no nutrition in it. So now they have to add synthetic vitamins, and then that makes it more durable. And so it's basically add color to it, and we feed it to our kids in the morning. So we're feeding them sugar and non-nutritive, you know, stuff that they have to, you know, we send them to school, and their brains are wired from all the sugar. I think with COVID, we probably had patients understand that, oh, maybe I shouldn't feed them all this sugar because I can't get them to sit down and do their work. So hopefully that was a little lesson for parents in nutrition. So, if after the purification and, now if you want to cook up some quinoa, you can cook it in some coconut milk and make it like a cereal. I'm okay with that, just your half cup serving. So that's fine and dandy. But after the purification, do some steel cut oats, not the Quaker oats, because they've been smashed and steamed and all nutrients are taken out. But the whole, the steel cut oats are rolled, or like a rolled oat, and they take longer to cook. So there's more nutrition in them. So let's lean more that way afterwards. They say oatmeal is healthy, but it's really not. It's not heart healthy. And, Quaker Oats just paid the American Heart Association a ton of money to get that little heart healthy sticker on there. So it's just a way that, they've gotten around these things, and they spoof you and you believe it. You're like, oh, I'm going to eat oatmeal because it's heart healthy. Not really. So why is blood sugar so important? So glucose is sugar in the blood. Everybody has glucose. Our whole body runs on glucose. The pancreas regulates the blood sugar by producing insulin. Insulin carries the sugar into the cell, a body cell, and that's where we get our energy. But if the pancreas has to work so hard to put that sugar in, sometimes they can't produce enough insulin, and that's why we become diabetic. And it's just rampant in the United States and in other countries now, where they're catching up with us. I mean, it's part of the life now. So, if you look at these symptoms of blood sugar, you can see that these are very similar to symptoms of when we need to detox our liver, because everything we eat has to go through the liver, and the liver makes sugar and it breaks sugar down. It makes fat and breaks fat down. It makes cholesterol and breaks cholesterol down. So they're very similar symptoms of that. So we have a little question here for you. So some of you know this answer already. So if Bob has 36 candy bars, he eats 29, what does he have now? And the answer is diabetes. Bob has diabetes. So that's your funny for the day. But this is part of the problem. So sugar also causes osteoporosis because it increases calcium loss, increases bad bacteria in the gut, causes inflammation. All of those things are what happen when we eat too much sugar. So we have all these women being put on Prolia and things like that for their bone, because they're laden with sugar that they're eating, and their bones are weak and they're not exercising, and pressure on bone builds bone. So we've got to exercise, really super important, not just for women. Women, as we age, we lose estrogen. So when we lose estrogen, that's where we can get the bone loss. But, men are being more sedentary now, and we're not exercising. So if we're not doing pressure on the bone, and if you're walking, you're getting pressure on your legs, unless you're walking on your hands. Most of us are not. So we have to use some kind of weight-bearing exercise. So this is what real blood sugar should look like. So in this middle here, you can see the stable blood sugar should be right there. The body releases fat, protects the lean muscle, eliminates cravings, and increases energy. If we have too little, like you skip a meal, restrict calories or carbs, or exercise an empty stomach, your blood sugar will drop. The body then burns muscle, holds on to fat, and then energy crashes, and you have these cravings. If we have too many calories or carbs per meal, the blood sugar spikes, and then the body stores fat. Now, the bottom one, we talk about some intermittent fasting. That's not the same as here. So we'll talk about that on the last week. But so just know that there's a different caveat for that. So it's a perpetual addiction. It spikes, we eat it, the blood sugar falls down, levels go really low. We have the crave for that high, and we eat more, the hunger cravings go up, you eat it, and it just becomes a perpetual circle. So, that's why we try to break you of that. That's why I do a 10-day blood sugar in April, because, we have Easter, we'll have had Valentine's Day, so we're already back up on our sugar levels. And this is what sugar causes. Metabolic syndrome, cardiovascular disease. This is what we are in our world today, and it's scary. So how much sugar do you really need? So women, 6 teaspoons of sugar, or 24 grams. That doesn't mean you go eat 6 teaspoons of sugar. That's in your total day. A man is 9 teaspoons of sugar, or 36 grams. So your metabolisms are a little bit faster. We hate you for that, but it just is what it is. And then remind you, it is not the spoonfuls of sugar. So I'm talking about 24 grams of carbohydrates in a day. For women, 36 for men. Or you can start on metformin. So here's your other, alternative if you don't want to do that. So this is what they give patients that have their A1C is high, their blood sugar is high. They start, pumping them full of medication. And it doesn't really, it causes the body to hoard it almost. So it's not really solving the problem. It's like driving your car and your oil light, pressure light comes on and you put a piece of tape over it. So you don't see the symptom and you're driving your car, but you don't see that there's damage still happening until the car stops. So this is very similar. And this is why I got into doing nutrition. This is why I do functional medicine, because I was so tired of hearing patients come in, I feel like crap, but I went to the doctor and he said, my blood is good. And so why is that? And then we just are throwing pills to take care of symptoms instead of let's look at the problem. And most of it I can say is what we eat. So in Florida, we have this program called the Healthiest Weight Profile. In Lake County, this is 2017. And if you look to the far right, you can see the state rates for all these, the healthy weight, the underweight, obese. So 2020, they don't have the 2021 out yet, but healthy weights have actually gone down. It should go up. The underweight has gone down, which is good, but overweight has gone up, and so has, but the obese has gone down slightly. But look at the kids. I mean, they're learning from the adults, and that's super scary to me. We need to teach our kids. And when I teach this information, it's not just because I want you to know it. And you may already know it, but it's reminding you that you know it. You need to teach your family. You need to turn them on and enlighten them to a healthier lifestyle. So it's our number one public health threat. So, currently all our Floridians are at a healthy weight of down to 32% now. And by 2030, it'll be 60% of our population in Florida will be obese. 6 out of 10 children will be obese by the time they graduate from high school. It's so scary to me. And over the next 20 years, Florida, obesity is expected to contribute to millions of cases of preventable chronic diseases, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and cancer. Remember, sugar feeds cancer at a cost of $34 billion. Add that to the $10 billion we spend on cereal. I mean, look what we could do with that money. And think about your insurance company. They're not going to pay you to come see me because I'm preventing you from getting sick. They're going to wait till you have to have medical, and they pay for that. So we have such a backward system. We have a disease care system rather than a health care system. Instead of rewarding you for doing a class like this and taking care of your body, you're punished for that financially. So it's a public enemy number one here. This is what it looks like. So you can see how the fat is around the body. It doesn't need to be there. I know that it's cold today and yesterday, but we do not need that year round. Wear an extra jacket. It's more efficient for your warmth. So that talks about calories. So when we eat food, it burns in our body. It's, any kind of food or drink that we put in our body. So we burn calories at all body functions, not only just exercising. So we have your BMR, that's your basal metabolic rate. And it's the amount of calories you need to power your body in a relaxed state at rest. And that means all the things that you do when you're sleeping, your respiration, your heart beating, your maintenance of your blood pressure, your body temperature, your digestion, all those things are your basal metabolic rate. So that's if you're just laying there not doing anything, you're still burning calories. So if you want to find out what your ideal body weight, don't be a hater. I'm sorry, but this is how we do it. It's a equation called the Hamwe equation. And so for women, 100 pounds for the first 5 feet, and then 5 pounds for every additional inch. So I'm 5'4", so that's 100 pounds, and then 5 pounds for the extra inches, that's 120 pounds. So for men, it's 110 pounds for the first 5 feet and 5 pounds for each additional inch. So you can calculate that for yourself. And then your ideal body weight times 10 is your BMR. That's your basal metabolic rate. So to maintain that, the calories is 1,200 calories for me a day, just to maintain. I eat way more than that. So we have what we call a thermodynamics of eating. So When we're resting, we burn 60% of our calories. Thermic effective, when we actually eat, we burn calories. And then the rest comes from our physical activity. So if you sit all day, then that's not going to help you much. So when we talk about this calories in, calories out, this is what we kind of learned. And I'm going to blow that out of the water on the last class. So just hear me now, believe me later. So the whole idea of calories in, calories out equals, you maintain your weight. If you take your calories down and increase your calories out, then you lose weight. If you take more calories in and you expend, then you gain weight. And that's fine and dandy, but we found that it's a particular kind of calories that you eat actually make that difference. And like I said, I'll go into that in deep, on the last class, because I think if you understand that, it'll be a mind changer for you. So this is a report that I do in our in the office for my functional medicine patients. So this was a couple years ago at Thanksgiving, and Mary Ann was like, "Oh my gosh, I feel so bad. I feel terrible." And I'm like, "Well, let's just do a test on you here." So this is a Zyto. I use it more for the patient because green is good and red is bad. So if you look at this, and you don't have to be a doctor or rocket science to see, it's bad. So we test like 172 biomarkers, and she had 14 good ones and the rest were out. So I'm like, okay, we need to do something here. She had a really good Thanksgiving. So we put her on the 10-day blood sugar, and that's the one we do in April, July, and October. She did it on Monday after Thanksgiving, lost some pounds. She was really complaining of fatigue, and her thyroid was acting up. So her energy improved, her thyroid resolved. She felt better overall, and she had decreased sugar cravings. So remember, we talked about Jim Neiman that first night. That's what decreases those sugar cravings. So 10 days later, we retested her, and look at the difference. So still had a little work to do, but grand change. So that's just the power of eating foods that power your body instead of eating foods that destroy your body. So when we look at that, we're looking at the difference of, eating a head of broccoli, which is only 50 calories, or you eat a Reese's cup, which is 44 calories. And that's a half of a Reese's cup. That's a Google pick, not my teeth marks on there. So the more bulk we eat means fewer calories. So that's why we say those are foods that are nutrition rich and fiber dense. So we talked about, getting your exercise in. So if you walk or run a mile, you burn about 100 calories, give or take. Doesn't matter how much you weigh, it's about 100 calories. Doesn't matter how fast you run, 100 calories. So if you walk down to the Starbucks and you get a caramel macchiato, then you've kind of outwalked or exercised it consumed your exercise. So this is what happens is people go and they reward themselves. They have a big drink and a cookie because I exercise. So I'm going to reward myself, and they just completely ruin the effect of that exercise. And look at the grams of carbohydrates in that, 34 grams. And that's in the grande, 240 calories. So that's a lot. So, and only 10 grams of protein. So we want to be mindful of that. Not saying you can't have that, but after the purification, and limit it. So if you eat 100 calories a day more than you need, you gain about 10 pounds in a year. And these foods on the right that you see are the foods on the left of this panel, are the nutrition rich and fiber dense ones compared to the chips and the honey bun and the candy bar. So you can see how you have very little of that. It's not nutritional rich or fiber dense, so it's not going to satisfy your body's need for eating. And I'm not saying that the margarita or the French fry are better, but I would lean more to the margarita. At least there's a lime on there. Okay, you get a little vitamin C with that. So now, and here's the other thing. This just drives me crazy. This is the other pill. They're trying to solve the problem here. So this is a prescription medication that the doctor gives for somebody that has a body mass index of 30 or more. You have to have one medical problem like high cholesterol, blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, want to lose weight and keep it off. So, but I think it's interesting here because you see it says with a reduced calorie diet and increased physical activity. Mind shattering. And then I like how she's got her little, stuff on like a football player. But look at the symptoms on these things. These are, common for this. But the scary part of this, I'm just going to run through this real quick, but look at all the allergic reactions you can have. It increases your blood pressure, your heart rate, liver damage or hepatitis, manic episodes, visual problems, and increased risk of low blood sugar. It's crazy. So And then so there's more to that, but I had to dig deep to find this. And it says how many pounds did people lose? So on the left, you see the people taking Contrave and a comprehensive lifestyle modification program, which is what you're doing now, to detox program, lost 18 pounds. But look down below that, on an average at 56 weeks. On Monday night, we had a guy that lost like 10 or 11 pounds just in 1 week. And then on the other side, it says people participating in a lifestyle modification program alone lost 11 pounds in that 56 weeks. So it's not that much. I mean, I can help you with detoxing and changing your eating ways to lose more than that. So pills not going to fix anything. And there is no one that's ever died from supplements. They've not died from mineral death. There's been no mineral deaths, no deaths from herbs. So please no, except the guy down the bottom there, he choked on a vitamin. So, and then, these are from the 50s. I mean, I remember these as a kid that, you get the vitamin donuts and, the new way to get you more good things from your vitamins that, you can, what you get in 2 glasses of Ovaltine, it's like real butter, corn and peas and bread and ice cream. And it's crazy, and we believe that. So this is how the marketing has gotten to us, and it's just only improved. And then when we talk about big pharma, I mean, look at this, my favorite is the lifetime of mammograms, which causes cancer. That's free. And then you're going to have all the diabetes treatments, psychiatric medications, old age treatments for Alzheimer's and dementia. And let me remind you, we call Alzheimer's now type 3 diabetes because sugar damages the brain more than anything. So it causes inflammation of the brain, and it causes a buildup of that plaquing, which enhances Alzheimer's. So for any reason to stop sugar would be that, is to keep our brain. So this is a $1 million big pharma project here. So, it's your choice. So you either eat healthy or you take all these things. So what to avoid? So if when in doubt, if it's not on the program, you can't have it. With the exception, I'm letting you have eggs, free range eggs. I'm letting you have nut milk that's not sweetened. But the margarines, the spreads, the corn oil, the safflower oil, all those hydrogenated fats, out. Get rid of them. You're never going back to them, especially when you see next week what we talk about. Then you're going to go, no caffeine, no alcohol still, coffee, tobacco, and other stimulants, no soft drinks, other than, like I'm doing a Pellegrino water, which is quite tasty. There's no sugar, and it's just, we call them bubbly waters, fuzzy water. Nuts, beans, and dairy and grains other than the lentils and the quinoa. No processed or refined foods, no dried canned vegetables, and no lunch meats. And I just want you to get back to eating real food. That's what really works. I mean, that's what we do. And the only thing we really cut out of our diet during that is alcohol and cheese, because everything else we do. So it makes it super simple to continue a program like this year round. So, if you still have a weight management problem you want to manage, you can continue eating this way. So I would encourage that. And even if you don't have a weight management problem, just for the health of it, do that. So from now on, we're going to hold the sugar. So yesterday was Martin Luther King Day. So this is one of my favorite sayings that he said: if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. So moving forward, not only with exercise, but making changes in your lifestyle and eating habits, you can see how much better you feel. And, it's you sleep better, you feel better. For me, it's laser focus. I can work on projects without distractions. My brain is just like, geared in. Laser focus is what I like. So it's your choice. Anything that goes in our mouth, we choose to put it in there. You choose to either sit on the couch or go exercise. So make that choice a good one. I'm not going to make it for you. That's not going to do any good. So your body keeps an accurate journal regardless of what you write down. I have patients bring food logs in, but you know what? I know that for them, it's not always accurate. But, then I can at least see what when I do a food log, it's more to see so they can see what they're eating, because then they get a little embarrassed to have to write that stuff down. So, this was a really bad day. This was a holiday. I have all the excuses. So remember, supplement change on day 8. You drop down to 5 green food two times a day and 5 gastrofiber in the morning, before at night. I just make it 5 and 5. Just keep it simple. And then you can begin adding animal protein on day 11. Remember, great health is not a destination. It is a journey. So please keep that in your mind. So we'll be on you're going on your second week. Some of you are entering into your third week. Next week, we're going to talk about fat. Not that you are fat, but the one thing I want you to take out of today is that it's not the fat that makes you fat. It's the sugar that makes you fat. When we eat a carbohydrate, it throws our blood sugar way up and then it crashes down. If you eat protein, it'll still raise your blood sugar, but it won't spike it like that and it'll level off. And if you eat good fats, it doesn't raise your blood sugar at all. Why haven't they told us this all these years? It's all about the money. So we have next week, same bat time, same bat channel. So I will be here. We will talk about fat, and then we'll get you ready for the last week and get you ready to head out to the new yonder so that you can eat well and have a great healthy journey. All right, I will see you next week. Same time, same station. Bye.